Beer really resonates in Cincinnati because of our brewing heritage. Before Prohibition, we were one of the biggest brewing centers in the country. Beer from Cincinnati brewers was shipped around the country and around the globe. The resurgence of the local craft beer certainly started with Moorline and Hudepohl Schaenling early on. And we're starting to see a resurgence of these craft breweries everywhere.
I think that Cincinnati is unique in just how quickly it's happened here. When people come from out of town in these kind of beer geeky cities like Denver, Portland, Asheville, North Carolina, and come to Cincinnati, they've got awesome things to say about the scene here, and they're kind of excited about where it's come so quickly.
It's not just in one location, but the entire region is seeing this resurgence of craft beer. And so everybody is getting back to having their own local brewery right around the corner.
So we've already had the beer culture here. It was laying underground. It was waiting to come back out. And now that craft beer is the coolest, biggest thing going on right now, we've got a huge resurgence, and not just a pretty good one for a Midwestern city or for Ohio. We have an amazing beer city that's being recognized across the country.
I played in a band in college. I played with a lot of Legos when I was a kid. I like the idea of starting with nothing and kind of building something out of that. And I think when you're brewing beer, you're doing that. When you're building a business, you're doing that. And I think that whole kind of creative, aspect of making something up out of nothing is really cool.
I like to tinker with things. So I've originally went to school for mechanical engineering, so I'm a hands-on type of guy. I ended up building an entire homebrewing system. So it was not only making great beer, but it was also what can I do to kind of build my own system.
We stretch the limits of what beer can be to brew very unique styles that are interesting both to consumers and ourselves. We like to brew beer that we like ourselves as well.
Everybody here is part of making something tangible that they can then go to a bar and be like, I'm proud to work at this place. I love this product at the end of the day. It's cool to be part of something that's having a real effect on our city.
So there are literally dozens of these lager cellars and tunnels underneath the streets, underneath the buildings of this neighborhood, some still being discovered. And they're really the foundation of the renaissance of this neighborhood in everything that we do, both taking people through underground, putting businesses and residents back in the buildings that sit on top of them. And when we started on the mural project, as part of the Brewing Heritage Trail, we really want to celebrate that, not only that appreciation of the craft of old and of beer, but that maker culture and bringing that industrious nature back to the neighborhood. And so working with Keith Neltner and the team on that design to really celebrate that making aspect, that beer aspect. And so it encompasses not just beer, but that entire heritage and culture and forward-lookingness of the neighborhood.
I think, growing up as a kid, on the farm, I was always attracted to, an icon that might be literally on a bull ring package or the side of a seed bag or something like that. So there was always that influence of design, whether I knew it or not. I could draw, so I had no idea I was going to be a designer. I think the range of what I can create is a lot broader maybe than the work that I'm drawn to. So I had gotten an email from Artworks and they have a committee kind of structure. So they had shown some interest in my work. I knew of Artworks. I had seen their murals all over town. My initial reaction was, I don't know if I quite fit that mold, you know, because they are generally fine art. They're just beautiful imagery. So when they chose me and they said, you know, we're really interested, the committee is super excited. And oh, by the way, this is a brewery-related mural. Everything kind of clicked. We sat down, we met at the Road Trippers building. I learned about the history, the Crown Brewery history. Steve Hampton was extremely knowledgeable from the standpoint of this is where this building was. Road Trippers was very focused on why Cincinnati is kind of the up-and-coming city to be in. So how do we make something that connotes pride, history, and being progressive? We didn't want a mural that felt stodgy or old. That's where Cincinnati was. We wanted something that had a sense of pride. So I arrived at a couple ideas, but early on this image kind of came to me of these craftsmen crowning a pint of beer. How do we show that in a very graphic, non-linear kind of fashion? So that image kind of quickly came forward, and I fell in love with it. Like, I knew driving down the street and arriving at that would be really dramatic.
This is a large project. It's about 2,900 square feet. So the first challenge is just working on that scale. We start with a very small image. We have to grid the small image and then blow it up in the large format.
Nathan was very nervous because there was still white paint showing and we were 3 weeks in.
Little details matter. When you step back, 5 feet, you still see those details. On this scale, you do something up close and it looks right, and you step back 100 feet and you can't see what you just did.
So we got down to all the white was covered, and I said, Nathan, how are we going to get this texture? How are we going to add that layer that I think everyone's expecting from my work? And he said, I'm not really sure how that's going to happen.
At this point, the largest challenge is that his aesthetic is more related to printmaking. So we have to create the illusion of printmaking and the illusion of all the digital processes that he uses to create his image.
So I had worked with a painter, Stacy Valerie, and she really got the aesthetic. She knew how to translate this kind of printing, graphic quality into the wall.
For Keith, his style is really important, and getting that really beat up, distressed look is kind of his #1 priority. So it's just a matter of breaking up the really graphic black lines, and we don't want to compromise the paint layer. So we're kind of doing the distressing by adding layers of paint to make it look like they've been taken away.
So a big kind of aesthetic within that image is halftone. So a coarse kind of dot pattern that you use in screen printing a lot. I couldn't translate to real world things. She quickly was like, we can do that with bubble wrap. So we used that technique to kind of get that printing quality, and it worked.
I have never painted on something this size before. I've never been involved with anything like this before, and it was truly astonishing. I've never realized how well I could work in a team until I came here, and I never realized how just everybody putting, parts of their passion of art into something could create something like this. It's seriously amazing.
I guess the hope is that the community that lives here values what we did, and it continues to be, a part of the sort of new energy that's coming to this area.
So this neighborhood was built as a true mixed-use neighborhood. You had factories next to churches, next to schools, next to residences. Everything happened here. And so the only way that we're gonna really truly redevelop this neighborhood is go back to how the neighborhood was built and bringing back those craft-based businesses and that appreciation of local making things is gonna be one of those key factors.
What the whole movement means for us is the return of Cincinnati's grand brewing traditions. It's about the soul of a city. When we gave up our brewing heritage, we gave up our soul. And now with the Renaissance happening, now we're getting our soul back.
I think the resurgence of the heart of the city here and over the Rhine and this sort of renaissance is something tangible. You know, you can walk down the street and you feel a really positive, fun vibe and great entrepreneurial spirit that you didn't before.
We've gone beyond the tipping point. So the resurgence in that area is not a fluke. It's not one street. It's going to continue. In this disposable world of content, things can still matter. We can still preserve something, we can create something new, and it's all about doing that with our hands, like human to human, creating something that has meaning and emotion.